Today I'm making a video about XRP potentially hitting $100. Now, to be honest, I've always avoided making price predictions because, well, they're usually wrong. And yet, here we are. So why today? Well, it's because XRP has some serious business going on as we start Q2 2025. And if it all plays out, $100 might not be as crazy as it sounds. It might be just the start. Before we go any further, I want to be transparent. I own around 11,000 XRP, bought at the start of 2023, and this isn't an XRP to the moon video. It's just me piecing together XRP's potential. And as a one-off, most of the info today is speculation, but it's important because it helps us understand where crypto might go if adoption happens at scale. This is what I'll be covering today. Legal wins for Ripple, XRP adoption in Japan, ETF, Swift integration and ISO 20022, RLUSD, Ripple stablecoin, political shifts, and finish off we'll look at that $100 price potential. Legal wins. The legal battle between the SEC and Ripple has been ongoing since December 2020, and this is the main reason why I wasn't paying close attention to XRP before. I did buy some XRP in early 2023, but only because a good friend of mine was relentless in telling me how it was the future of finance. If it plays out how I think it will over the next few years, like potentially getting to $100 and even more, I have a feeling I'm going to be very, very grateful to my mate Andy. How about you? When did you first get into XRP? Let me know below. Anyway, let's start with a major development over the last few weeks. Ripple and the US Securities and Exchange, the SEC, have reached an agreement to end their long-running legal battle. According to several reports, they have settled on Ripple paying a $50 million fine. Let's hear what Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse said about the end of this long legal battle that has lasted just over 4 years.
This has been a long battle. How much certainty does this provide? Is the entire case over?
So this provides a lot of certainty for Ripple, for frankly me personally, because the SEC had sued me. The SEC has abandoned their appeal. And so they filed suit in December of 2020. We won on the key parts of the case in the summer of 23. Judge Torres made a ruling that XRP in and of itself was not a security. That's almost a verbatim quote. The SEC filed an appeal about 8 months ago, and what they've now agreed is that they're going to drop that appeal. We still have a cross appeal pending, and so we go from being defendant really to plaintiff. So we now are in the driver's seat to determine how we want to proceed.
Are you dropping it?
We're going to see. It feels a lot better to be on the offense than the defense. You know, 4 years, we spent over $150 million defending that case. Not just for Ripple, but for the whole industry. I think it was really important that this SEC, the Gensler SEC, was really trying to bully and continue lawfare, filing lawsuits and lawsuits and lawsuits against crypto companies. That's over now, and I think that's great for the U.S. crypto industry and frankly great for crypto at large.
I mean, to that...
Japan is going all in on XRP. I could have picked a number of countries, to be honest, because there are literally hundreds of banks around the world who've been using and testing the XRP technology in the background. By the way, if you want to know everything you need to know about XRP technology, like the fact that it's going to replace the middleman, the bankers, see below for a recent video. So back to Japan. 80% of Japanese banks are preparing to integrate XRP into their global payment systems by the end of 2025. And if you think about it, Japan is not some small town player. It's a tech and finance powerhouse and one of the most crypto progressive nations in the world. If XRP becomes the default bridge currency for cross-border payments in Japan, that's massive utility and massive volume. And depending on where you get your info from, adoption in Asia often leads global trends. This could be a preview of what's coming for Europe and North America next. Before we go any further, I just want to say, as always, this video doesn't contain any financial advice. I'm simply using my 8 years experience in crypto to try and help other crypto investors. XRP ETFs, the next liquidity wave. There is no guarantee that the XRP ETF will get approved in 2025 but the SEC legal battle is over. You've got much more crypto-friendly SEC in the US, so I'm 99.9% certain the XRP ETF will get approved this year. Several large financial institutions have filed to create XRP ETFs, exchange-traded funds. At the time of recording, I think that number now stands at 9. Here's why it matters. ETFs make it easier to invest, just a click inside your brokerage app, so investors don't have to buy on an exchange and store their XRP in a cold wallet offline. ETFs allow institutional exposure with built-in legal protections. If approved, XRP ETFs could allow 401ks, IRAs, pension funds and institutional investors to get in. Obviously, this only applies to US investors, but you never know. We might get XRP ETPs, exchange-traded products here in the UK and Europe at some point in 2025. Anyway, we've seen this before when Bitcoin ETFs were approved last year. The price flew up. Same with gold back in 2004. ETFs pushed gold into the mainstream. Will XRP follow the same pattern? Possibly. Well, almost definitely, in my humble opinion. In fact, I'm going to put myself out there and tell you that I think the XRP ETFs will be even more successful than the Bitcoin ETFs. Let me know in the comments below if you think I'm right or that I'm talking out of my ass. Even Ethereum got ETFs, though price action was muted. And if you've seen some of my latest videos on this channel, I'm going off Ethereum, even though I invested into it back in 2021. So it's no guarantee, but the ETF applications are a massive credibility boost either way. Ripple plus Swift equals financial revolution. Let's talk about Swift, the payment rails that make it possible for money to go from one person to another, or one company to another, etc., etc. It's the infrastructure behind $150 trillion in yearly cross-border transactions. That's more than the entire global GDP and 10x the value of all gold ever mined. Now, Ripple isn't replacing Swift, it's integrating with it. That means Ripple's technology can improve Swift's outdated infrastructure using XRP for liquidity. Ripple's on-demand liquidity ODL uses XRP to instantly convert between currencies, settling payments in seconds instead of days, with fees near zero. Even if 5 to 10% of Swift payments start using ODL, that's a huge volume driver for XRP. And the price for one XRP token will increase significantly, but we'll get to price predictions in a little bit. ISO 20022, the new language of money. This is one of the most underappreciated catalysts for global adoption in crypto in 2025. ISO 20022 is a global messaging standard for financial institutions. Think of it like the internet protocol TCP/IP for banks. Every bank has to comply by May the 10th, 2025. And guess what? XRP is ISO compliant, as I've started to mention a lot on this channel. That means it can speak the same language as the entire global banking network. Banks hate friction. If XRP fits a system better, they're more likely to use it. This compliance might be one of the biggest unlocks for XRP mass adoption, and it's flying under the radar. Now, in this video, I've barely skimmed the surface. If you want more info on this very important standard, see below again for another recent video. Real USD and XRPL. Now let's get technical. Ripple has recently launched Real USD. RLUSD is a stablecoin pegged to the dollar. This happened in December 2024. It runs on the XRP ledger, which already processes 1500 plus TPS with tiny fees. Here's how it will or is playing out. Real USD brings stability for daily payments. XRP brings speed and liquidity. Every Real USD transaction burns XRP, adding deflationary pressure. So you could say it's like a 1-2 punch, a jabbing across for any boxes out there. Stablecoin plus native token equals synergy. More Real USD equals more XRPL traffic equals more XRP burned. Higher demand. This also makes XRP ideal for tokenized assets like stocks and bonds, which is where finance is headed. The future of finance. SAB 121 repealed. Banks can custody crypto now. Thanks to the repeal of SAB 121, US banks can now custody crypto assets, lend against them and offer DeFi style services using regulated frameworks. Real USD gives banks a stable medium of exchange, and XRP powers the rails. This combo unlocks a whole new DeFi ecosystem inside the TradFi world. It's no longer us versus them. Crypto and traditional finance are beginning to merge. It might not be in your face in mainstream media or social media, but when you do a little bit of digging, it's definitely happening behind the scenes. Trump, sovereign wealth funds and Ripple. Now for a little change, we'll touch on politics. Rumours say Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse may join a crypto advisory council under Trump. This might have already happened by the time you watch this video. Also, Trump signed an executive order to create a US sovereign wealth fund. That means America might build its own national investment portfolio, including crypto. If XRP is in that fund, it's a massive endorsement. Imagine what happens if multiple governments start holding XRP in their reserves. Can XRP realistically hit $100? So this is what we've been building towards, mass speculative price predictions. Let's break down the maths. Current XRP price is $2.17. Circulating supply is 58 billion. To hit $100, XRP's market cap needs to be 5.8 trillion. That's about 4x Bitcoin's current market cap. It's not impossible, but it would require massive institutional and global adoption. If Bitcoin hits 1 million by 2030, as some analysts predict, and XRP keeps its current market share, XRP hits $22 to $25. That's a 10 to 12x from a day. But $100, that would need XRP to grow its market share by a huge amount. And it could if all these pieces fall into place. Can XRP hit $100? For me, yes, eventually. More realistic for me in 2025 is like $10. And even that is roughly a 4 to 5x from here. The risks you need to know. Let's be honest, there is still risks. XRP recently had a ledger halt that raises concerns about stability. Some nations may avoid XRP because it's tied to a company and CEO, not fully decentralized, despite what some of my mates in crypto tell me. If real USD dominates too much, it could overshadow XRP's utility. Also, this entire bull case depends on adoption, regulation and timing and global liquidity. Basically, the fact is there are no guarantees in crypto, but for what it's worth, I'm very, very bullish on crypto in 2025. Summary: at the edge of expectations, assumptions turn into belief. That's the truth of crypto. It was true for Bitcoin in 2009. People called $100 crazy, then 1,000, then 10,000, then 100,000. Each price was an assumption until it became a reality. We're in the same place with XRP today, in my opinion. So be smart, diversify, and only invest what you can afford to lose. But don't ignore the possibility of what happens if the assumptions play out. Crypto, as you probably know, is hard. It's very, very volatile, and that volatility is hard to cope with. If you need help and support this year with crypto, like what to buy and why, how to buy, when to sell, etc., see below for the link for my crypto community over on School. And if you're taking value from this video, hit the like button, subscribe, all the good stuff. And please excuse this video, I can barely breathe out my nose, so I might have made a few mistakes in there. Anyway, thanks for watching.